We are giving away a professor's research. All you have to do to enter is like, comment, and subscribe, and we will be picking a winner on Saturday. We'll see you then. We are at the final stretch of the ranked season, and basically, we know what the best decks are. You know, here is the metagame that's been represented on Limitless and what we have been seeing on the rank ladder as well. Of course, we have been seeing a lot of sleep scam plays, a lot of Hydreigon variants. Altaria still making a big appearance with sleep. Sceptile is there, Meowscarada, Sweetbacks. There's, no more sugarcoating it. Everybody should know what the metagame is by now, but there are a few interesting decks, new competitors that have been making it, into the ladder and have been seeing success in tournaments, which are competing against some of these ladder decks where you see the Zygarde, Lucario. It could be sleep scam decks. It could be Sceptile and all that. And what I want to do today is go over all the new interesting decks that are brand new that you can be using on the ladder for the last couple of days that we have left in order to sneak into whatever ranking you want to make it into. So let's get into it. Let's take it back old school to Mimikyu, Giratina, Greninja. This deck right here, back in the day, like when it first came out, we popped off at a Pocket Match tournament with this. It was me, second, Jimbo. This deck is amazing, just overall, and the fact that people are playing it with Field Blower, Poncho, it's amazing just to see this deck come back. Overall, I think the deck is amazing, and I can't. Mimikyu having the disguise ability and, tanking that first hit. The only downside to that is if you get hit by Chingling, right? But if you get, like, Sleep, also Igglybuff with a 10 HP breaks it as well. So, that's the only downside if you have to start off with the Mimikyu. But we do have the Plaza there, and you're not taking insane amount of damage in the first hit. You get to charge up for 70 and then start swinging. But overall, I feel like this deck is still really good. You definitely can't misplay with this deck, because if you do, it's just going to cost you the whole game. But having Giratina in the back while you're manually charging the Mimikyu and then pinging things around the field, you definitely have to be conscious on, when to attack, when to charge the Tina, and, what is going to be your real win condition in this. Obviously, you're going to be playing Psychic Energy here, so, you don't always have to rely on the Broken Space Balo, so, there's multiple ways to get that Giratina, ready to swing whenever the Mimikyu goes down. And then Greninja pings, you got Cyrus. I just love double Cyrus. The fact that double Cyrus is here with Greninja pairs really well. You're smacking everything for 70 or 130, and you could add an additional 20 to those two attacks. You do have Copycat. Copycat is amazing. You have to run 2 in this metagame. If you're not running 2, you're doing something wrong, because Copycat is just one of those busted staple cards that you have to abuse while we still have it and while it's still relevant. Next up, we have Vaporeon EX. Now, I've been seeing a lot of different variations of this deck, but, this deck right here today in Pocket Match tournament has been seeing a lot of success. And overall, you're just pairing it with Greninja. You have Water Energy. You could definitely make Greninja an attacker, while you have Vaporeon in the front lines swinging for 80. You could take advantage of that ability and definitely make them swap out and then keep swinging and hammering them down to 80. You have the Hiking Trail, so you could get the consistency of finding your missing key pieces, whether it be the rare candy or Greninja, or even the Vaporeon. So you could definitely play everything out in the field. You're definitely playing X speed here, so you could swap out the Froakie or the Eevee, seeing it whatever situation you're put on. Definitely going to be a very situational situational use. You do have giant capes. Cyrus, and then double Copycat, double Pokeball, and double Professor's Research. Overall, the deck synergizes really well, plays well into the metagame, and expect to see this pop up because people are definitely trying to play more different decks on the ladder, and the more they can catch you off guard, the better for them. Next up, we have Malamar and Mega Absol. Malamar prevents evolution, and the fact that you could, pair this with Oricorio and Pichu, it kind of reminds me of the old school version of Mega Absol Oricorio. I don't know if you guys remember that, but having access to the Bombardier, you could definitely have the retreat costs, to 1 and free for Absol. So, like, overall, it's really good. Malamar swinging only for 2 energy, keeping your Pokemon from evolving. Now, the whole premise of this deck is just try to get that strategy online as fast as possible. The problem here is, if Malamar, I feel like if you go first with Malamar, you're not going to be that quick if they rare candy you. But at the same time, if you're going second and then, you could start swinging, I think you could definitely pop off here. Because like you want to get that evolution jammer live as quick as possible, and it does work. It's not one of those like maybe it works here and there. Nah, it could be pretty consistent. It has been seeing a lot of success over the weekend, and I would recommend you guys give this deck a try. Next up, we have Mega Manectric. So this deck is not dead. This deck actually puts in work. And as more people are realizing, it plays well into the metagame, and it does push back sweep backs. So you do have big Malasada to deal with all of the sleep scams and status elements, which the biggest one is sleep. Like poison isn't really that much, burn is whatever. But sleep is gonna be the most impactful one that could definitely make you lose the game. So having the tech Malasada is definitely good in this metagame. If you don't want to play Malasada, you could play Pokemon Center Lady instead, and then you'll be in a great position as well. Next up, we have the return of Mega Steelix. Bro, this deck right here is the most... I don't even know. I hate this deck. I hate anything with bulk, anything that's slow paced. I just despise it. But overall, it's still good. It plays well into the metagame. This deck right here is gonna push out Zoroark for sure, and Manectric. Like all those decks that do little bits of damage, Mega Steelix just stops them on their track. You have Heavy Helmet, Steel Aprons, and then you have the starting planes for your Indeedee, so they don't get knocked out by one hit, so they don't get Ninja Cyrus or anything like that. And then you're just playing all of the healing in the world. So, Steelix is definitely going to be surviving all of these shots, and it's just good, for it. Steelix is just good for the last couple of formats, the same way it is back then, the same way it is now. So this deck is really good. I'm just surprised nobody really ended up playing it until now, but I'm really glad I'm glad I reached top 1000 and I guaranteed my spot before this deck became popular, because I hated the meta when this thing is super popular. Second to last, we have Meowscarada. Like, there's not much to say about this deck. This deck does pop off and it's pretty strong. This person was playing the Tech Silver. It's a card you don't really see here and there, but it could definitely catch people off guard, and that's like one of the best things that you could do in the meta, especially on ladder. Things like that, tech little cards could definitely win you the game in massive amounts of ways. Playing the Erika, Leaf Cape, and Ice Pop for healing, the Fragrant Forest. You don't even need Pokeballs, because all you really play is the Ogre Pawns and then the Spigartito and then Fragrant Forest. You could use it infinite amount of times until your opponent bumps the Stadium card with their own, but by then you're already getting one starter, and by the time you use Fragrant, you already got your max value out of it if you haven't already drawn it or used the Copycat or Research Office. So overall, the deck is pretty good. Meowscarada is still really strong with Florgatito to deal with the Oricorio. Then you got Meowscarada EX popping off as usual. Like the flower trick is really good as well. Now, the last deck I want to talk about is Darktina. Yes, the classic throwback is here, and you can't disrespect the old goats, and it does play really well in the metagame. You're playing all the best supporters in the game, and you have heavy hitters like Giratina, Darkrai, stack energy on red with red and Rocky Helmets and the Darkrai pings. So overall, Giratina definitely could, be a threat in the late game. You do have the starting planes to give it extra HP. You have Giant Cape there. You have Indeedee to make sure Giratina is basically, attacking for free, having the, healing, the -20 go back up. So overall, I feel like the deck is great. I do want to get back into playing some version of this deck, but overall, these are the best new decks that are dominating. I would recommend you guys try these out on the ladder to sneak your way up into whatever rank you want, because definitely a lot of people do not see a lot of these decks coming in. Not to mention, Giratina has advantage over Lucario, right? You're doing an additional 20, 150 damage with base attack Giratina, and then you had, Darkrai from 20, another 20 from Red. That's 190, and then that's if they haven't already attacked with the Rocky Helmet or taken previous damage from Darkrai pings in the past. So it could even one-shot a Lucario. So this deck is pretty good. Overall, this is what's dominating the meta, and we're gonna wrap it up with that. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.